Hey everybody, it's Durger time. Thank you for joining me once again for another episode of TEW 2020 NXT Arrives, where we're taking NXT from its humble beginnings and trying to turn it into something new, something better, maybe, perhaps. So we're kind of reliving the glory days of what I loved in NXT, but obviously things are going to get very different soon because we have our takeover, which is where we're probably going to start to wildly diverge from the storylines that have already existed in NXT, and from here we're going to be kind of taking things in a wild direction, because after this one we'll have a live stream before the next episode where we are going to be doing a sort of like hiring session. So those that are in the live stream will take control of WWE, and we'll have the opportunity to maybe bring some people up to developmental, from developmental up to WWE. And there'll be a limit to how many they can do, as well as hire people to send down to us that we're going to have to work with. So it'll be pretty fun to see, and that'll happen after this takeover. But tonight is our takeover episode. Not much to say in the preamble, not much behind-the-scenes stuff to worry about. Let's just get into it. Let's take a look at what our takeover is going to look like. All right, we are ready for TakeOver. We're going to have it on the WWE Network. Our quality is very low, which is nice, so we don't have to worry too much about maybe having some real bad outcomes on this show, and that's definitely going to help us, because our talent pool right now is still very limited. I'm hoping that if you guys are nice to me, you'll give me like a few indie guys that would be not huge stars, but might boost up our upper mid-card range, right? Because I can't hire anybody. I am just solely stuck with who we have. The thing that's going to be cool is you guys can send me people that you're not using WWE that we could send down to developmental for a little bit, right? So that's also a pretty cool option here for us. We're going to save this selection. Yup. We do have a backstage incident to worry about. Probably just Wrestler's Court. Yeah. Angela Dawkins was brought before Wrestler's Court about making a mess backstage. That's fine. Not a big deal. We are going to be in Full Sail. We still have to make our own arena. I believe that's one that we did not do that we really should do, because that'll give us some ability to expand and grow. But for now, we should have just the Full Sail location. We labeled it last time as NXT Studio. I know I said this before, but we just have to sort of a mental reminder for myself that we need to change this in our database. And what we'll do is we will probably make our own actual NXT Full Sail arena that we can grow, because right now it has a 300 capacity. Not a big deal for us, because I doubt we're going to have many people. Oh, we're actually going to have 500 people, so we're actually going to sell this out. So that's something to keep in mind, that we might want to have its initial size when we make our arena something like 500, and then we can always pay more to expand it. We'll select this. We are going to very much sell out, but that is okay. It's not a big deal. What we really want is the popularity from the TV show, and that's going to be our main focus. We got a couple storylines. Obviously, we have our women's division sort of tournament final to actually crown our first women's division champion after it got vacated. We have Sammy versus Neville. Our tag teams, I think we have Lucha Dragons versus Ascension. And then we have Leo Kruger versus Bull Dempsey as the kind of main card. We got to try to get everybody on the card in some capacity. So I expect the show will actually look pretty poor in terms of rating, because some of the talent is just poor. But we'll do what we can to try to essentially get everyone on, keep their mood penalties in check, and also build a little bit to the next show. I don't think there's going to be a lot of huge story revelations of what we're going to do afterwards after this, but I think I think we're going to have one or two things setting up now that will be important. All right, let's get on with the show, and let's see how our first takeover goes. All right, guys, we are ready for NXT Takeover. Long show, 146 minutes. We had needed 150, or actually 90 between 150 to actually run. Ended up with 146, so we used pretty much all of our time to run the show. Only one pre-show match that we have, but most of the roster is on the main show. We have a few people that are off of the show. We'll have to deal with that as we deal with it, but overall, it's not too bad. I think like 3 or 4 people we couldn't put on the show. We could have done another pre-show match, but I didn't really feel like it. I didn't feel like it was worth the cost to run it. Of course, big name matches. We have Leo Kruger versus Bull Dempsey. Obviously, Leo Kruger has been attacking Bull Dempsey for a while, targeting him in his hunt for the biggest game. We'll have to see how that plays out, if Bull Dempsey can fend off the South African hunter, or if he is just going to be too much to take. We also have our tag team match with the Lucha Dragons versus the Ascension. They have fought before, and obviously Ascension have a lot of momentum going into it, but Kalisto has reunited with Sin Cara for at least one more shot at the titles. We'll see how it plays out for them. We also have the finals of our women's tournament between Charlotte and Becky, and the winner of that will become our new women's champion. Obviously, it was vacated after Paige went to the main roster. And finally, we have our title match for the main event tonight between Neville and Sami Zayn. Sami's been working through the roster, trying to prove that he has what it takes to face Neville, but now he has to face his friend and see if he can finally overcome any of the problems in his past and see if he can actually defeat his friend. As well as a whole bunch of other matches and a whole bunch of other stuff going on, but without any further preamble, let's get on with the show and see what our first takeover looks like. So we start our pre-show with a women's elimination scramble, just giving them some opportunity to work. Obviously, a lot of them aren't on the show proper because one women's division match obviously is taking the spotlight. Trying to give them some opportunity to work in here, and this is just sort of a simple cool down match. I think we did eye candy just to give them a bit of a better rating as we try to build up their popularity. So they're not really working very hard. We'll allow them to do this to break out later. Segment gets a 40. We actually give the win to Shaul Guerrero, defeating everybody. I think Sasha had a kept strong bonus on her, so she took a little bit less of a penalty. Carmella actually debuting and being the final elimination, which is weird, but I just kind of let it do its thing, but that's interesting. Sasha Banks was eliminated first, which is shocking. Shaul had a 52 rating. Everybody else was scattered in between. Again, these ratings, though, are more set towards their popularity and eye candy, not their actual wrestling ability, because that's how the match was sort of dictated. It's fine for what we're doing, but in the long term, especially for a wrestling nirvana promotion, we really want more of the in-ring performance to shine. But first, we got to get their popularity and their skills up. Overall, not a bad opener for a pre-show. Actually gain heat for the vacant seat storyline because some of them are involved in it. But that'll be ending soon, so it just kind of gives us a little bit of a bump for the actual match. Alexa Bliss was off her game, and unfortunately, we're still getting penalties for the announcing, which is just struggling. Afterwards, we start the show as NXT TakeOver traditionally has, to get a big pump and a big rise out of people, with Triple H coming out and doing his "We are NXT, welcome to the future" kind of thing. We're not always going to do this, but obviously for the first takeover, we kind of have to, and it's a little bit cheaty, but it gives us a high segment rating, but you know what it is. Get the crowd hotter, got to show off the strong start. Obviously, again, our announcing struggling. I feel like that's going to be in there every match, so we're not even going to bother talking about it. In our first opener here, we have Bull Dempsey versus Leo Kruger. we had this, as, I think, as a wild brawl. I had this later originally in the night, but I wanted to see if we could use that momentum that Triple H was probably going to get the crowd hot, to just have like a real crazy wild brawl at first. As subpar wrestling, decent reaction from the crowd though, so I think overall it's not too bad. Leo Kruger does defeat Bull Dempsey with a GC3. It's Leo Kruger has a 34, Dempsey has a 24. We advance the Hunting Big Game storyline, and Bull Dempsey's head was shaved after the match, which is kind of a fun gimmick for Kruger, where as he beats people, he's taking trophies, which will be locks of hair and such. So we have a 30 isn't great, but I mean, it's not horrible. It's about as much as we were going to get from a Leo Kruger match at this point, which is a 34, unless you put him with somebody that's like vastly higher performance than he is. Afterwards, we just have a segment where we have Kruger take out his knife and cut off Bull Dempsey's ponytail, leaving him kind of bald. So that's sort of the way we're doing the head shaving, is instead he's kind of like taking it. Bull Dempsey doesn't have, in this picture, hair, but I remember him at some point having a longer, more like ponytail. So, imagine that's him chopping it off. Doesn't do very well though here, but that is what it is. I kind of expected this to go a little bit higher. Oh well. So he's got one bounty for sure as he fells Bull Dempsey and moves on presumably to the next bigger game, because Leo Kruger's gimmick here is obviously going after the biggest, the strongest, to prove himself, right? That he wants to just constantly get a challenge. It's almost like he wants to lose, like he wants to push himself over the limit to find out what his limit actually is. So Bull Dempsey was this big dude, strong man. Kruger's like, I can take that. That's a stronger talent. There's a stronger hunt. Someone that might be able to best me. And Kruger almost disappointed that it didn't happen, but presumably moving on to a bigger hunt later on. Backstage, we have Tyler Breeze finding William Regal irate, absolutely livid about the fact that he does not have a match tonight. And starts pushing Regal around and complaining, and Regal says, "Oh, I'll give you an opponent tonight if that's what you really want." And Tyler's like, "Yeah, that's all I want. That's all I want. I want to be on the show." And Tyler Breeze walks away, and Regal has a slightly sinister look in his eye as he does. Regal's performance was great, and Tyler Breeze's benefit having a hot catchphrase. Overall, 55, not too shabby. Most of that, I'm assuming, came from Regal. This is okay, I guess. I needed something to do for Tyson Kidd. Didn't really have anything for him to do. But I thought, hey, you know what? We're trying to book this Colin Cassidy thing, as he's a singles competitor now. Enzo's on the ring side, gives them both something to do. And we're like, sure, why not? Let's give him a triple threat with Ty Dillinger and Tyson Kidd. And we have Colin Cassidy win. He defeats Ty Dillinger and Tyson Kidd after pinning Ty Dillinger. Keeps Tyson Kidd a little bit protected. I wanted to originally do Tyson Kidd getting the loss, actually eating the pin, but I figured he would not be for it right now. Technically, Tyson Kidd is actually our only major star on NXT in terms of actual popularity right now. Even though I don't really have a strong intention to use him for much, I'm probably going to use him to just be fed to other people, right? So I wanted to do that, but I also don't want him to get absolutely irate. I want to try to work it out so that he will accept it. Overall, Tyson had a 54, Ty had a 35, Cassidy had a 25. We gave Tyson Kidd a arrogant millennial gimmick, which is sort of his gimmick for a while in NXT, and it got an average rating. It's fine. And not much else to say about it. 34 is a little underwhelming, but it's about probably right for who we have right now. This is a disappointment, actually. But again, the weakness of where these wrestlers are right now is kind of hurting us. But remember, really, the segment ratings really just have to be higher than where we're at as a company right now. and I think we're at, we have to look at our popularity after this, but I think we're at like a 20, so, or maybe like a 27. So this is about average. It's not horrible, but it's about where we're at. Had decent reaction from the crowd, subpar wrestling. We had a sort of a triple threat tag team rumble here. We gave the Revival the win here after defeating Vaudevillains at Blake and Murphy. It was elimination tag tournament. We had Blake and Murphy first, and then the Vaudevillains. And Wesley Blake showing off his skill, but everybody else is about the same caliber for the most part. So 20s, high mid 20s. Not too bad, but it is what it is. But we give them a little bit of momentum so that we have a believable challenger when the time is right as we kind of build up the Revival. I guess a 26, it's fine. This one sucks. Oh, man. This actually cooled the crowd down. This is all Mojo Rawley's fault. Decent reaction from the crowd, but it had terrible wrestling. Baron Corbin beat Mojo in 3 minutes by pinfall. This continues Baron's sort of winning streak, obviously. Corbin's not great. Mojo's definitely worse, but 15's kind of shocking in how low it is compared to their performance. I'm guessing it's just, I don't know. I don't know why it would have got that. But I wish these things, even the dirt sheets, which I really shouldn't look at, gave even more understanding of where the numbers came from, because I feel like we should have had like a 19, right? I don't know. It might have been just the bad combo between the Wild Brawl or something like that. But we give Baron a win against Mojo here, and another seemingly unstoppable monster moving through NXT. That monster, though, gets assaulted afterwards the match. He's walking back up to the ring, and Leo Kruger hops over the barricade and attacks him, and actually manages to down Corbin and walks away, seemingly targeting his next big hunt. Baron Corbin's been on a winning streak, and obviously Leo Kruger, fresh off of his first victory here, seems to have taken notice. And Corbin is obviously looking more shocked than anything that Leo Kruger actually had the power to take him down, even though it was a soccer shot, so he shouldn't be that surprised. Fortunately, this segment doesn't do great. It's only a 26, but we advance the big game hunting storyline in the process. Ugh, this could have been better. In our tag team champion match, we got Lucha Dragons versus the champions, The Ascension. Had a decent reaction from the crowd, but ultimately had subpar wrestling. The Ascension defeat the Lucha Dragons in 15 minutes. Connor pins Sin Cara with a TKO. We're actually protecting Kalisto here, because Sin Cara is technically just a... he's not really a borrow right now, but theoretically he would be. So he should eat the pin in this situation. The Ascension make defense number 1 of their tag team titles. I think it's actually 2, but we had to restart that database. Kalisto had a 20, Sin Cara had a 43, Victor had a 26, and Connor had a 22. So overall, it's actually not horrendous. It's about in line with where they are. And we obviously advanced the Ascension Rising storyline. So actually, maybe I'm down on it, but it's not too bad for where they are at. We debut Solomon Crow, Sami Callihan's weird hacker gimmick. We're bringing in here. Solomon Crow fights Travis Tyler, who managed to get to the main stage. Look at him. Unfortunately, he's here as enhancement talent as he gets a pinfall and a headlock driver driven into him here. Solomon had a 35. Travis had a 20. Gives us a 26. Again, not horrendous. And a quick debut in 6 minutes from Solomon Crow. And we have Tyler Breeze coming to the ring, waiting for his opponent for his special match that he kind of, managed to convince Regal to give him. Unfortunately, the odds and the card was stacked against him immensely as Kevin Owens debuts to a absolutely shocked Tyler Breeze. Kevin Owens' gimmick, though, gets an awful rating. We'll have to definitely change that. But he still has a groundswell of support behind him. Gives us a 43. This match is pretty okay. Kevin Owens has a 55 and a 37 for Tyler Breeze. Overall, not too bad. Had a fantastic heat and good wrestling. Crowd was eating it up. Kevin Owens defeated Tyler Breeze in 10 minutes by submission with a sharpshooter. Overall, not too bad. Again, 38 is not bad considering the difference in performance here. This is a little worse. Our women's division final for our tournament here, we have Charlotte versus Becky Lynch, and it's a decent reaction, but ultimately just has bad wrestling. We scripted them, try to kind of deal with that, which probably gave us a little bit of a bump, but Charlotte is just not a strong in-ring performer yet. She defeats Becky Lynch, though, in 13 minutes by submission with a figure 4 and wins the NXT Women's title. We lose some heat for her own story, unfortunately, as I guess the crowd wasn't as excited to see her win it. And thankfully, Charlotte and Becky do have good chemistry, so it lifted the match. Gives us a 23. Could have been better, though, but this is a problem, especially considering that we would use her as one of our icons of our division. So hopefully when you guys are looking to scout talent, maybe you can scout me some women's talent that is a bit better. Afterwards, we try to give her a little bit of a rub by having Triple H come out to hand her the title to celebrate and, do the Triple H finger pose with her, obviously. Gets us a 32, which is much better. Most of that obviously being Triple H, but it's still not necessarily giving her the momentum that she needs, but maybe it'll give her a little bit of a rub. In our main event, underperformed, actually, but it's apparently a superb match, even though I think that rating underperformed, but maybe I'm just, again, overestimating what NXT's quality should be right now. Adrian Neville defeated Sami Zayn in 19 minutes by pinfall after holding his tights for the pin. So doesn't quite actually get a clean win here. Instead uses Sami's honesty as a advantage for him and, ends up sneaking a win out here to make defense number 2 of the NXT title. Neville had a 45, Sami had a 50. We advanced the storyline of can Sami hang in the big leagues? Deserved better announcing, obviously, but got the crowd buzzing. So 39, maybe not too bad. And we end the show with a cacophony as Neville wins his bout against Sami after using his little cheap tactic to get the pin. Zayn is clearly upset, but Neville offers a smirk and a hand up saying no hard feelings. Sami kind of reluctantly takes it. He raises Sami's hand trying to kind of, give him some props, knowing that he proved himself today. But obviously in Neville's eyes, he's still not ready, and you can kind of see the arrogance in it. Sami leaves the arena, and Neville holds up the title. As Sami leaves, the lights go out, and the Titantron starts to flicker with weird static and interference before turning off like an old TV and just allowing the darkness to consume the arena. When the lights come back on momentarily later, Solomon Crowe is in the ring facing Neville, who's obviously shocked at this whole thing, and 3 other NXT wrestlers are in the ring surrounding him with a new look. Like Crowe, they're all dressed in sort of that hacker aesthetic, some studded leather jackets, weird goggles and shit. You know the look. So think of like the movie Hackers, because that's basically how out of touch WWE is, and that's the thing. Actually, a better example is, I think we were just talking about this in my Discord the other day, but think like Watch Dogs 2. Weird, that gimmick, right? So we got Solomon Crowe and a stable of hackers played by Judas Devlin, Oliver Gray, and CJ Parker, who presumably are going to have different names when they explain their actions next week. They attack Neville, leave him bloodied and beaten, really savage him. do the whole Nexus thing of even just ripping up the ring and wrapping him in it, hitting him with the title and leaving him to the side. The refs come out to try to help break it up, and they all walk away together up the ring, very confident in their actions, and crossing a very upset William Regal as they do. And Crow just kind of eyes Regal down as he crosses and just smiles, leaving a Neville uncertainly motionless on the floor, and leaving us unknown really what his condition is going forward. And that is Takeover, our very first Takeover. 44, actually not bad at all. For our ratings here, that's pretty good. I mean, a lot of that has to be with cheating and using Triple H, but we'll do what we can. But overall, pretty consistent performance. The only thing that was really weak was Baron Corbin and Mojo Rawley. Everything else stayed roughly, well, the Kruger storyline. Most everything stayed around 30 or higher. So I guess not too bad. It could have been better, but overall, not too shabby. Nobody was really, should have been really upset by anything. I don't think I had any problems. We'll just throw some random momentum out this way. And maybe Sasha Banks too. Give her a hug. Seems like Sasha Banks always needs a hug after a takeover, so that'll help things. There you go. All right, we do have some mail to deal with. Sin Cara is upset with Enzo Amore. He isn't tough enough. That's probably true. We had a pretty good showing here, like 100,000 viewers. And Giant Bernard here is going to Flabby, Mr. Tenzai himself. So overall, actually, I think our show is going to get a pretty good rating, above what our requirement is also, which I don't know what our money situation is. Mercedes Martinez might be a good get for us. By the way, if anyone's thinking about random people to hire for our NXT show, maybe that would be helpful, because we definitely do need a better, stronger women's division. Even just comparatively, stronger. Last night's, where is our show here? Well, usually there's a report for this. And apparently I just can't see it because I'm blind. Wanted to see what the general percentage was, but oh well. I'm going to say that's probably considered a success for us. Financially, though, who knows? We lost a lot of money. A lot of that had to do with that beginning workers issue. Broadcast revenue, actually not too bad, though. 19,000 from advertising. I don't know what that's going to do in terms of financial estimate for us. We're only going to be estimating about 58,000 in sponsorship income. It's only costing us about like 62 to run a show minus the wage bill. So we might be a loss leader for a while, but we do have a pretty sizable bank account to worry about it. If we ever get low in the money, we'll have a gimmick where I basically get a loan from WWE and have to do something horrible, like we might have a wheel or something. But that is it for us today. So keep a lookout for the live stream, which should be up. We're probably going to do 2 live streams the next week after this airs. So week of the election, possibly, you'll see 2 live streams. One for NXT, which will have a wheel of requirements for picking who gets hired, who gets promoted, what rules we'll have for it. We're also going to have one for our NWA save, because as this is going up this week, there will be another one for our season 2 of that, if you're not watching that already, where we're just going to do some backstage stuff and get a new tournament set up. So if you want to be part of that, best way to get notified is to join my official Discord, which there's a description in the link, or there's a link in the description, I should say. Wow, I'm like dyslexic today. Yes, there's a description in the link. There's a link in the description of this channel, of this video here. And you can find that, join it. It's always available, talking about wrestling, but also that's where generally you'll be notified for future events if we do a live stream. I'll kind of give you a heads up, usually like a couple hours beforehand, which will be helpful. But anyways, guys, thank you for joining me for TakeOver. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm excited to see where this hacker storyline goes. And where else we're going to go with NXT now that we've kind of moved past the initial setup and started to do our own thing. All right, see you next time.